Hey, Scott, it's Friday. It's time for another prolific banking transformation conversation. And this is episode 4, which is how do Fintechs influence bank technology projects? And before we get started, I did want to mention that this is not just a conversation for Scott and myself. This is one we think we need to have with other people in our industry, other Fintechs, bankers, and the like. Because I think it's an important conversation and one that will impact the direction of the industry moving forward. So if you're watching this on our website, feel free to drop a note to us at joe@prolificbanking.com or scott@prolificbanking.com. If you're watching this on LinkedIn, feel free to comment and let's get the conversation going. So Scott, I think I'll kick this off. I think there's really 2 ways that Fintechs can influence bank technology projects. One is by accelerating the adoption of digital technology, which I think goes without saying. And the second is really driving innovation and disruption. So with that, your thoughts?
Yeah, mostly I consider, banks almost in 2 camps, right? There are those that have significant technology capabilities and others that just really don't want anything to do with the software development process whatsoever, which is real, right? Bankers, they do banking. So I think, based on that, choosing the right vendor, it's either something of, I need a turnkey solution whereby I can work with somebody that will differentiate me strategically with, product or function or capability. And then the other side, how can I interleave a financial technology vendor to augment my solutions and push my team forward, or provide some of those outlying capabilities that my team necessarily doesn't have?
That's true. That's true. I think part of the challenge is really, both in culture and approach. I mean, I would view, Fintechs as being fast and furious, and banks, for the most part, being slow and steady. And it's really sort of speed and agility versus, control and compliance. So I think, those two things are sort of a counterbalance, and there's probably some happy medium in between, don't you think?
Yeah, I had gray hair in my 20s, I think. I've been doing this a while. You said fast and furious. I started having some flashbacks, Joe. But yes, and one of the things that I look to do, or that I've been very successful with Fintechs, because again, there are many different types and breeds of individual companies out there that provide these types of services. But it's taking an experienced management team that understands the bank operating environment, because it is unique. And then mixing that with more of the modern technology and velocity with which, right, we've got to be, pushing out more capabilities, more products and services at an ever rapid pace. Excuse my language. So I think that there is a blend and there is a happy medium between the two, and care really has to be taken when you do look at a technology partner.
Sure. Well, and it seems like there needs to be an innovation, framework, where both parties can come together and really collaboratively approach the projects. But I guess just as an aside here, my impression has been that typically, and again, I'm painting this with a broad brush, but typically banks, would look at horizontal technologies. They already have a framework and an architecture. They want a horizontal technology to work within that structure. Whereas I think a lot of Fintechs bring vertical integrated solutions that may consist of multiple new technologies to meet a very specific objective or to address a very specific business problem. And I think that's a bit different in terms of how the two operate. Would you agree?
I would agree. I would augment that a little bit to say, sometimes when there's a new concept, it helps to bring a financial technology provider in to help implement some of those horizontal solutions, right? Enterprise service bus RPA type technologies, all those horizontal things that you're talking about, those are strategic in nature. So we're putting these things in place to go somewhere. And whether or not you're going to take ownership of that horizontal technology and broker out the different pieces and parts to either other areas of the bank or, fintechs that you want to bolt into your solution, or you want more or less, hey, let's have somebody else come and take care of this infrastructure for us, like a service provider or whatnot, and allow these other capabilities to plug and play into that. Those are the two, as I see it, those are the two core differentiating aspects. But by and by, what you said, agreed.
Right. And I think to go back to the overall question is, and to what degree can fintechs influence bank technology projects? I think the answer is to the extent that they're allowed to bring innovation ideas and disruption, to those organizations. And really from sort of a more business administrative perspective, they've got to make their way through procurement and vendor management and compliance, and again, I wouldn't say that these are bad things, or they're not necessary things, but one could argue that onboarding a fintech could be streamlined somewhat to achieve, faster time to market and a lower cost of completing a project. So I think that certainly would help in terms of that overall framework, is making sure that the onboarding process is one that is sensitive to time, if you would.
Yes, and speaking of time, right? I think that's part and parcel. One of the things that the panacea, if you will, or the utopia, what we're really looking for is quality implementations that are performed with speed, right? As a fintech, as a provider of these services, what I always aim to do is I like to put the bank focused on delivering capabilities, not get mired in the technology and how this needs to connect with that and all these other things. Agreed, there's always that connectivity. There's always working with a bank's technology team, and that takes a different type of an approach as well. How well can you work with others? How well can you integrate with some of these other teams? So as a part of that onboarding process, it's two pieces. We need to make sure that things are compliant. Is this fintech going to be here tomorrow? Do they know what they're doing? What's the management team like? But also, to really boil it down, do they work well with others? Are these people we can bring into the bank who aren't just going to be dumping a bunch of technology in our lap? Are they going to work with us to leverage that technology in order to create some meaningful solutions for us?
Exactly. And I think we'll leave it there. And to our audience, give some thought to what attributes you think both the bank and a fintech need to have in order to achieve a successful, mutually beneficial project, or some case studies you may be aware of. Again, if you're watching this on our website, you can drop a line to info@prolificbanking.com, as well as Joe or Scott@prolificbanking.com. If you're on LinkedIn, give us some comments. Let's continue the conversation, because I think it's a good one to have. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you next Friday for episode 5, and have a great weekend. Thanks so much.
Thank you all.